Hello. So this is the first of 5 videos I'm doing this month in honor of the most magical time of the year, which is, of course, Halloween. So most of these are going to be, uncharacteristically for this channel, film reviews, because I have a bunch of other reading I need to get done this month, and I don't have time to read 5 horror books, fantasy books, mystery books, whatever it is. So, mostly this will be films, but I will do at least one book in honor of Halloween. I'm going to take this off now, though. So, this first Halloween-focused video is going to be about the movie Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, directed by Eli Craig. Now, this is one of my favorite horror comedy movies. And part of the thing that I like about this film is how much it runs on irony. Now, obviously, horror comedy as a genre already starts out running on irony, because these are two opposite genres, basically. I mean, if you're laughing, you're not screaming, and if you're screaming, you're not laughing, generally speaking. And horror comedy meshes these two things into a delightful and unexpected paradox of film genres. Well, one of the things in particular that Tucker and Dale vs. Evil capitalizes on is the set of expectations that viewers bring to a horror film, especially a slasher flick. So, this is clearly capitalizing on the model of things like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, the Halloween series, things like this. Pumpkinhead, films like this, where a group of teenagers, generally speaking, get attacked by some sort of psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est? So this is the basic sort of model that Craig intends his audience to bring to this film, and then he inverts it. So, first off, I'll say this film is set in West Virginia, which is a state that I have deep personal connections to. You all may or may not know this about me, but I got both my bachelor's and my doctorate in West Virginia, and my partner is from West Virginia. So, a lot of this runs on the sort of iconography of the psycho hillbilly. So, we got a sort of deliverance element here, but we also got sort of Pumpkinhead, like people off in the woods being creepy and murdering people and whatever it is. Tucker and Dale, the two protagonists, are these sort of redneck, alcoholic kind of characters who buy the abandoned cabin of this sort of group of psychotic murderers. They buy it as their vacation home, basically, to come and fix it up. While they are going out to their vacation home to start fixing it up, there's also a group of college-age teenagers who go out to the woods camping. The teenagers, in part fueled by the stories of psycho hillbillies told by their leader, Chad, assume that Tucker and Dale are murderers who are going to try and kill them. Then there's a series of comedic misunderstandings, essentially. For instance, one of the girls, Allison, sorry, I blanked on her name for a second. Allison, who's the main sort of female protagonist, when all the teenagers go out skinny dipping, she falls off a rock and hits her head. Tucker and Dale, who are out doing night fishing, pull her out of the water, and when they shout to the other college kids, "Hey, we've got your friend," they take that to mean we're kidnapping your friend to torture her, kill her, whatever it is, as opposed to your friend is injured, we pulled her out of the water, come get her and render assistance. So there's those sort of misunderstandings, but then there's also these sort of comedic deaths in which, in an attempt to get the upper hand in this struggle that Tucker and Dale don't initially even realize is going on, the college students largely end up killing themselves off. So like at one point, one of the kids charges at Tucker with a pocket knife, and then so Tucker is feeding wood into a wood chipper. The kid charges at him from behind with a pocket knife. Tucker leans over to get another log. The kid trips and goes headfirst into the wood chipper. So you have these series of deaths that are largely accidental, and Tucker and Dale don't have any idea what's going on. The college kids, meanwhile, become increasingly convinced that Tucker and Dale are killers who are murdering all of their friends. And so we have that reversal of expectations, which is amped up as Chad, the leader of this group of college kids, becomes increasingly psychotic himself. He continually resists the calls to either leave the woods altogether or get the police, because he becomes obsessed with this idea of killing off Tucker and Dale himself. And so that becomes sort of the driving theme of the movie, is that the people who are taken at first to be dangerous and to be the threat are in fact the people who attempt to save the day, particularly to save Allison, as Chad, who is sort of initially meant to be taken as the sort of leader of this group who are going to be victimized, as Chad becomes the killer. So you have that reversal, and that drives much of the movie. One of the things that I'm a little bit less pleased with in terms of this is there's another reversal, because what we learn over a couple of tellings of this story is that Chad's mom was actually a victim of a group of psycho hillbillies 20 years earlier, which had nothing to do with Tucker and Dale. They were not there, they weren't involved, they didn't own the property then, but Chad blames them sort of by proxy. And in one version of the story that Chad tells, his mother was already pregnant with him when she was captured by these murderers. What we then later find out from an old newspaper clipping is that, in fact, she was not pregnant at the time, and Chad's father was in fact one of the hillbillies who had captured her, tortured her, raped her, etc., etc. So that becomes the sort of the double reversal, which actually, in a way, takes us back closer to the standard sort of stereotypical horror genre, because Allison says something to the effect of, Chad, you're half hillbilly yourself. First off, you can't be half hillbilly. It's not a thing that makes sense. Hillbillies, as such, are not a distinct sort of ethnic group or something like this. Like, it's not a distinct genetic identity. But this, of course, is part of the irony of it, is this sort of imagination of a stigmatized group that then gets sort of lumped in with violence, criminality, insanity, etc., etc. But the reason I'm not a huge fan of this sort of later reversal, where we learn that Chad is half hillbilly and therefore and his psychosis descends from that, is because it actually takes us back and reinforces negative stereotypes about Appalachian people, which is, I think, incredibly problematic in a film that, to a certain extent, goes out of its way to say, actually, Tucker and Dale, who are Appalachian people, who drink beer, they wear dirty flannels, they wear old jeans, they wear baseball caps, etc., etc. They like night fishing. Well, we learn that Dale doesn't like night fishing, but he's never told Tucker because he didn't want to hurt his feelings. So all of the, we have all of these confrontations of these stereotypes that contribute to an overall negative impression of Appalachian people. And then we have that sort of reversed as we learn that the reason Chad is psychotic and decides that he's going to kill everybody, especially kill Tucker and Dale, but also Allison, is because he's half hillbilly. So this idea, it undermines a lot of that sort of confrontation of the standard sort of stereotypes of this genre of slasher flick. So yeah, especially something like Pumpkinhead, I think is a great example, because you do have these sort of hillbilly types who are out living on mountains, and they're all in wooden cabins and whatever it is. And that becomes the source of danger for the sort of college teenagers. Here we have sort of an initial impression of confronting those types of negative stereotypes that then gets walked back as Chad's ethnic origins are revealed.